On.
Okay, hi everybody. This is day 10 of Enlightened Women, Enlightened Youth Summit. I'm Dr. Ruth Anderson, and I am here with Stacie Harder, and we're working really hard to get Dr. Heather Harder on with us. And we've also got Terry Angel here. So thank you for being here with us today. We are trying to outsmart Zoom, and we'll see how that goes. Stacie, can you say hi to everybody?
Hello, everybody. So honored to be here with you all, and thanks for joining us.
We're so glad to have you here, Stacie. And Terry, can you say hello?
Hello, everybody, and welcome. I love our time together, so I'm glad you're here with us.
Great, great, great. Okay, so there was a bonus question on the post today. It was a trivia question about what was the photo? Where was the photo taken that is symbolizing Stacie and Heather's their graphics? So Stacie, did you happen to see it today? It's a beautiful photo.
Is it the mountains or the lake one?
It is. It's mountains, but
okay, I did see it.
You know where those mountains are?
No idea. But it's beautiful. I was like, where is that actually? I wondered.
It's stunning, isn't it? It's at the Hurghada International Airport in Egypt.
Really?
Oh,
where in Egypt?
At Hurghada, somewhere. I don't know where.
I believe that's up over, I want to say near the Mediterranean. I think. But I've been to Egypt about 5 times. So I've been to Egypt. I just don't think I've been to Hurghada. But it's beautiful. It makes sense now that you say that, because the energy, it can ding, ding, ding.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Right. So we've got your mom now. Let's see. I don't know that we can see her, but Heather, can we hear you?
She's muted.
Okay. Let's see if we can unmute you. Heather, if you can hear me, can you unmute yourself, please?
I just did that.
Ooh, I think I heard that voice.
Can you say something, Heather? I heard her. I know
I did.
That little red microphone is just being incorrigible, isn't it? Okay, I keep trying. Where'd you go? Well, what we're going to do, folks, because we don't want to spend too long, but we really want Heather on here. We're going to go ahead with the video. So let's go ahead and we'll do that.
Intention?
Yes. Do the intention, Terry Angel. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And hello, we have people jumping on, and hello to all of you. Please join with me and let's join our energy together. Place your hand on your heart center, because that will bring your focus there. And just take a deep breath in slowly. Focus on some gratitude as you release that breath out. Think of something that makes you feel really warm and fuzzy inside, and hold on to that as we read the intention. It is our intention today, as we allow these words to fill our presence and Divine Mother to hold us gently, that our mind, body, and soul reach a place of beautiful alignment. As our spirit opens more to its divine path, may our understanding of our purpose for incarnating in these human bodies be revealed. May we be a testament to the miracles that have happened and continue to happen in our lives, that we may authentically share our experiences with others in a way that will let them know they are not alone, and that we truly understand what they have been through. May we feel the love of our family, whether biological or the family of our choosing. May we all feel the presence of Archangel Michael as our protector, as we listen to the discussion of experiences shared by this mother and daughter who have overcome traumas, abuse, and many other challenges of life and move forward as beautiful expressions of love. And so it is.
Thank you, Terry. That was beautiful. All right. So, hey, Stacie, could you just text your mom and let her know we're going to watch the video, and it's like 30 minutes in length, and ask her to try again in about, well, she can try at any time, but I just won't be able to see that she's trying, but I'll be able to see after the video that she's still trying. Does that make
Deal.
Yeah,
Yes.
just so she doesn't give up on us, because we're not giving up on her.
Okay, perfect.
She's on the live. It says that she joined the live.
Oh, she did?
So she's here. So she's hearing us.
Awesome. Okay. So she could at least type in some words, something. But Heather, I'm so glad you're here with us. Anyway, enjoy the video, and here we go. Hi, I'm Dr. Ruth Anderson with Enlightened World Network, and welcome to this episode of Enlightened Women. Grab a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage, and please join us. Enlightened Women is a show about women who are living lives walking with spirit. In these episodes, we not only talk about what these enlightened women are up to, but what some of the challenges have been for them along the way. Today, we're talking with Stacie Harder and her mother, Heather Ann Harder, and I'm so excited to have them here with us. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you, because they both have such vast and rich backgrounds. Can't wait to hear it. So Stacie, let's start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what has brought you to this place here today?
My name is Stacie Harder, and I have been on this life journey now for 41 years. And each day I feel like it gets juicier and juicier, and I feel like I'm just one of those women going through all the stuff that we go through. And I am in the energy world. I do Reiki since I was a teenager. I'm educating. I've done lots of things in television and film, and I just feel like I'm kind of now into that open space of wherever the universe is. But for me, part of my mission is working with women and empowering women to radically just be honest with everything of who we are, to fall in love with everything who we are, to use our energy, to use our source, to really change the world. But it starts with inside. So that's a huge mission of mine, of just being able to say, okay, let's do this. You're not alone.
And Heather, please give us some of your background.
Like many light workers, I came from a very different world of academia and non-woo-woo stuff. So when the woo-woo world hit, it was about just exploring, just following directions, just showing up every day and being open. And so along my life's journey, I take groups around the world. I write books. I work with clients in both individual and group settings. I do workshops and trainings around the world and just sort of follow instructions. And I think that's probably my biggest claim to fame. I just am willing to do whatever is asked of me.
So Heather, you had mentioned to me before the importance of obedience in your walk with spirit. And have you found that in this obedience, that your role in working with spirit has changed and evolved over the years?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's like the role of parenting. When Stacie was a child, I had one job and duty. And then as Stacie evolved, then I had to respond to her differently. And I think it's very much the same with spirituality. In the beginning, coming from a place of truth and research and facts, I checked out everything. I double checked everything. I compared and contrasted. I tested. I validated for me until I had perfect trust. And then I could really surrender and just be in that place of peace. And I think that's probably the journey that everyone takes, that you have to find that place until you are completely comfortable and know this is your truth, and then surrender to it, and then just follow instructions. Along the way, I've had many, many experiences, and one of them, I can remember I was going someplace and I was told, no, turn around, go home. It's like, what? I'm going here. No, you go home. And then I got home and it was like, well, what was the point of that? And they said, you had to learn to follow instructions. It's like a race car with a race car driver, that they have to learn to work together and be in that perfect trust. And I think, well, okay, I'm here. Now what? And so there's a lot of silliness along the way. But for me, it's like, joining the Green Berets. You go through a lot of tests, a lot of uglies, so that when the uglies happen in life, you know how to handle them. And be at peace with that. You were talking about the dark night of the soul, and I just see it as super training. We're being prepared for something so big that we don't understand it, but we have to trust that every one of the challenges we face are not about testing us. It's about preparing us to be able to handle much bigger situations.
So, Heather, your spiritual journey has been about the last 40 years, really very time intensive. What was the journey of being a spiritual being and then coming out of the closet, as it were, as a spiritual being? What was that transition like for you? I really believe for a lot of women in particular, that's a really scary time. Do I put myself out into the world to be seen in this way or stay safe?
Well, it's very much like our gay community now that's coming out of the closet and having to be honest about who you are to your friends and family and risk ridicule and all the other things that comes with it. In my first book, I said the acknowledgement that I think my parents were teaching me to stand tall in the face of adversity. What I didn't say is the way you learn to stand tall in the face of adversity is you go through it. And they gave it all to me. They were horrified. They were absolutely appalled that I would risk my good name for this craziness. But that's what you have to do. And it's just like our gay friends, there's a decision you make. Either you're going to come out of the closet and be true about who you are and reap the consequences. And we've all been slaughtered in past lives and martyred for our cause, so we know the downside of that. Or we're going to stay in the closet and pretend that we aren't. And it's a decision, and it's not an easy decision, but most of the people that are out, you see the way they change the world.
Absolutely change the world, one soul and one person at a time. Right. So Stacie, you grew up at a time where your mother was awakened. How fortunate you are.
Yes, I did brilliant at picking my parents. I do believe that we pick our parents coming into this lovely planet Earth. And yes, my mom has taught me so much. And yeah, I was very few 12-year-olds going to How to Speak to Dead People workshops. I think as the transition hit, I wasn't expecting it. It was a very but then it's so normal because it's my mom. My mom has always been one that's just, it's here, it's there. There's no and if what's about it. She's very incredibly strong, but brilliant. It's So as a kid, it's beautiful to witness, but also at the same time, it's kind of, I don't think intimidating. I don't hear dead people talking to me, and I hear spirit differently. She's given direct stuff, and I, at this point, I don't have the conversations a lot of people do. I just have those inner feelings or inner guts and knowings. But it's a really incredible journey. I think as a child, I get teased a little bit when you have newspaper articles about your mom talking to Abe Lincoln and those kind of things. But I also, it was in a small town in Indiana, first time talking about spirituality and communication and the things in, I'd say, a larger picture. So I feel like she's always been one of those people bulldozing ahead of the crowd for everybody, making the path, making the way. So it was a beautiful, interesting, and I don't know any other way. So, and it's always an incredible gift. Mom, what do you think of this? Hey, Mom. So I did good. I adore and love her very much.
I can only imagine the conversations you two must have back and forth. You're so lucky to have that built-in colleague to talk to.
Yeah, my mom and I are incredibly close and bonded, and have a very special connection, which I thought would be a beautiful gift to this, because some people do get this chance with their parents and some people don't. And, it's all perfect.
So, Stacie, have you always been as forthright as you are now about your spiritual journey? Or did you also have a time where it was easier for you to stay inward and quiet about it?
I feel like it's mixed. I think there's moments for both, because I always have been this strong kind of personality, but I believe I went through a time where I shut down, shut off, and we'll get to some of those moments where I really had struggled and had a hard time energetically kind of reconnecting and figure things out through healing. But I do feel that, yes, I've had those down moments in my journey where I didn't feel your powerful, enlightened self. So absolutely, I think I've had both. But I will say it's so good when you've done the work and the effort to be able to feel in line with who you are again and just verbalize it. Whether it's liked or doesn't like, it's not about that. It's just being that authentic self. So I would say I've had a mix and match of sorts.
So Stacie's always been very confident and very sure of herself. My spiritual journey started when she was, about 12. And so I began to ask, how do I best serve Stacie as a mother? And that's really where I learned a lot about how to support Stacie and what she calls her periods of sort of going in. Those are her trainings. She's here to teach people a lot of things, but in order to do that, she had to know how they felt. So she had to go through them herself, being attacked, being lacking confidence, are not Stacie's natural place, but she had to experience that. So she went through several years of challenge, but that was her opportunity for growth. So, it's really hard for me to go, oh, poor Stacie. It's like, yeah, this is, congratulations, you're getting another lesson. And so I don't see that Stacie ever saw it as like spiritual versus non-spiritual. It was just an integration of who she was. And she was here to dominate and really model for the world how to have fun, how to take control in your body. She's a very physically grounded person.
She absolutely is. I think Stacie is one of the few women that I know that are equally body, mind, and spirit. And she just embodies that triangulation of totally being in her being. And I honor it and I respect it so much. And when I'm older, maybe I'll be more like you. I don't know.
Well, and that's a lesson, because being in balance with body, mind, and spirit is our goal, but we're still a society that empowers the mind. And then we get all these other issues because our mind isn't in balance. And then we either punish ourselves because our body is too thick or too thin or not tall enough or not short enough or whatever it is. And Stacie really walks through that process beautifully. And when you understand the trilogy that we're blessed with, you really can honor and go much farther and faster.
And I will say that it's a journey to get to this place. I mean, yes, I feel like at some level I was born with it, but as you go through the life training skills and all those things, I do believe that we agree to everything before it ever happens. I believe that all of what is in our life and our existence is because we chose it and we're here to grow and learn from it. I feel like everything is divinely perfect. But I've battled. I mean, my weight has been up and down. I've had physical injuries where I literally couldn't physically move my body. I'd be in immense pain for a couple of years. So I've gone through lots of things, I think, to really, truly embody and love my body.
See, and I don't see those as your things. I see them as the experiences you brought onto yourself so that you would have compassion for others. But those were not your natural things. You had to forget in order to remember again. But when you remember again, you do it with much greater compassion.
Yeah. And I feel that. But yes, in that process, though, it's like...
So I wasn't a very sympathetic mother.
No.
It's like, oh, Stacie, this is a great lesson for you.
And it's true. I mean, I went through so much self-judgment and self-criticism. It's each day is a new day. It's like, shut the old, in for the new. So
I once asked Spirit, why Stacie chose me as a parent, because I firmly believe that we choose our major circumstances. They said because they knew that she knew that I would be able to give her the freedom she needed to live her life.
For parents that are trying to raise amazing children to walk with spirit, any suggestions?
Well, it's hard to boil it down into 5 minutes, but if you're wanting to raise healthy, happy children, I think there's some major lessons you have to teach along the way. And that, life is about choices. When I was growing up, we had strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate ice cream. Now there's 8,000 kinds of ice cream, let alone 8,000 flavors. And so teaching kids to make choices and be responsible for the consequences of those choices. So many parents want to make it easy on their kids by sort of cushioning the blows. And I think that's, unless their life or physically endangered, that's a big mistake. You have to let kids make decisions and learn how to make appropriate decisions and then live with the consequence of that. At 13, a child becomes a spiritual adult and starts drawing on karma. And if they haven't learned how in those first 12 years to make responsible decisions, they can be blown around big time.
Stacie, what has it been like for you growing up, following this amazing shadow of your mother?
Stacie has never been in anybody's shadow. First of all, never been in the shadow.
It's a lot, because it's like, how do you, in some ways it's like I'm in awe, in other ways it's inspiring because it's like I want some of that, in other ways it's, I don't see envy, but there's like this admiration that she's gifted, and you could see her under pressure. If you could see her when there's a situation that's off, her way of communicating, getting through and penetrating to like the deepest, corest value is like, So it's incredible because, yeah, I wish she could be like my little partner all the time, because there's the way she could see things and say things and do things. It's incredible.
I'm much quieter by nature. I'm an observer. I like to watch. When somebody asks something, I'll be happy to answer. I'm not shy. I'm just quiet by nature. Stacie is a performer by nature. She's always out there. She's always speaking. So whenever we do anything, Stacie's pushing me, go on, wow, go do this, go do this. And so she's been my biggest cheerleader over the years. And so I've done something right that I've earned her respect and enthusiasm for what I do.
And through that, we've also created a beautiful business relationship. I mean, I've traveled with her speaking engagements when she was running for political office. I traveled the country with her a couple of times. We've gone around the world together to many, many trips together. So we have a beautiful friendship, companionship, relationship.
As I was saying earlier, I think before we got in the air, that the biggest thing a light worker can do is just be obedient. When you're asked to do something, just, I will mumble to myself and grumble and say, I don't know how to do that, but eventually just step out and do it. One of the things I was asked to do was run for president. So for 10 years, my life completely centered around politics. And Stacie was on the road with me for about 4 or 5 months when I was in that phase. And literally I would talk and she would just cry. That's so beautiful.
Watching these people react and how they're like, we've been praying for you. Like all of these, it's just the divine perfection of everything coming together, and the energy of it was like incredible.
I've just done all kinds of things, but never did I plan, I'm going to do this. It's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to do what? And when my first trip to Egypt was literally a lightning bolt from heaven. It was a knowing. I have to go to Egypt. And I told my then husband, I said, no, this doesn't make sense, but I have to go to Egypt. And he said, when? I said, I have to do this no matter what. And he says, what? And I said, I'm going to Egypt. He said, when? He said, tomorrow. So I went that night, bought a ticket, was on the plane the next day, had never been out of the country, had no idea where I was going to, had no hotels, no anything, but just traveling on trust. And life-changing experience. And then I knew when I was there that I would never go another year of my life without going back. So then when I started getting ready to go back, people said, can I go with you? Can I go with you? So I had this group that was going with me. And then I started, after that, understanding that part of my journey was to help people incorporate this amazing Egyptian energy that literally takes you to new places, and helping them facilitate their lessons along the way. So again, I've done all kinds of things that even I would label strange, but you just do it.
So have there been times that spirit says something to you like, go to Egypt, and you said, no, I can't do that. I can't do that right now. Have you ever wanted to say that?
Even the thought of saying it is bringing tears to my eyes. I know that once you say no, they just go tap someone else. I mean, there's going to be someone else who's willing to do it. So what I usually say is, show me how. I don't know how to do it. Show me how. And with the political thing, every night I was grilled with interviews and questions. I mean, people during my sleep state, I was being interviewed and media trained. And so I was at an event in California, and there was an official media trainer who trained lots of stars and stuff. And he was charging $200 an hour for media training. So I thought, well, I'll pop for an hour and see what he says. And he's asking me these questions because I can't teach you anything. I can't teach you anything. And he wouldn't charge me for the experience because he couldn't teach me anything. I've been so well prepared by spirit. So no, I wouldn't think of saying no. And the few people that I know have said no have later regretted, but you can't take that no back.
Important lesson too is when you know something inside, you have to trust it and surrender to it and ask questions.
Well, you spend the time to learn discernment so that you can tell it's coming from the higher source, because not everything you get etherically is healthy. So you have to learn how to become very mindful of the source of the information. But once you're sure of the source, then, what I say is you got to suit up and show up with a glad and happy heart and do your best.
So you two both come across as such strong and put together women. Have there been challenges for you along the way? Stacie, you talked a little bit about the body perception and struggling with the weight at times. Have there been other struggles for you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I like to go into everything of learning. So anything experience-wise is, what is it teaching me? What am I learning from this? What am I growing from? And so I have experienced sexual trauma from a childhood to my adulthood, through all varies. So I find for me, it shows up in different aspects in different parts of my life. But I will say for me, rape was a big thing that really kind of, at the time, felt like it was shutting my soul down. I went into dark hiding. I went into this place of feeling so broken and so shattered, not feeling safe in my body. And that was the one thing I did with weight, is subconsciously as a child, when I started getting 12 years old, I was a lovely figure skater with a beautiful body. And I had already large breasts, tiny waist, and I was totally physically fit in the most beautiful way. But as soon as I started getting sexual attention at 12, I hated it. Couldn't stand it. It was just, and every day I went into junior high, I was getting harassed and touched, and it was just in my life constantly. So I put on weight physically. It was subconscious. It wasn't conscious. It was all subconscious, but it was my way of keeping me safer. If I have extra weight on me, or if I have a little extra cushion, people aren't going to be looking at me. People see me for the real me. And it wasn't until I really, truly fell in love for the first time in college that the weight just came off. And then I was like, oh, I see the correlation. When you're feeling loved and safe, it helped teach me. I went through over a 5-year relationship with someone who I would say is a narcissist. When I left that relationship, I was at ground zero as far as confidence, as far as feeling self-worth, as feeling all of that. And yet I look at it and it's a big gift, because it really showed me I wasn't showing up to loving myself. To let someone treat me that way, I had to feel that way. So I have definitely worked through lots of different, that's just a few, but yes, I have been suicidal. I have been, and it's not normal to my being. It's not who I am, but I definitely went through a phase, and I know that pain so well. And it's, to me, one of the most important things is your daily life is to be able to, like, you talk about a vibrational state, where you want to be. I did go into the victim world for a long time. And when I start to realize the patterns, and is it serving me? It wasn't serving me, right? It just brings in more of that. So it's really, I think, important when you're in the spiritual journey to focus on what you do want, right? If we're stuck with showing up, well, what am I bringing that in? Why am I bringing that in? What am I learning? What is this teaching me? And show me how, right? This or something better. This or something better. So it's a way to me, almost surrender to what is, but also refocus. Where do you want to be vibrationally? I want to be in this loving place. So find it, tap into it. Where do I find this loving energy? All right, well, for me, it's, being on the ice. It's like, right? Being in your body, being able to do different things. But then as soon as you get attached to that, for me, I learned, we're going to take this away. You're not going to have your body now. You got to find it within you. And so there's been so many moments for me that I've really have definitely struggled. I think that that's part of being human, but it's going back into the brain. It's finding something that does feel good, whether it's a morning meditation, morning prayers. I got my own new notebook of all the positive things I want to think about. So when I find myself in this negative space, great, I can go into this beautiful magic place where it's watching a YouTube video with one of your favorite speakers, or, Abraham Hicks, a quick little video. Like, it's little things that help to me tune your vibration to where you want to be. And I think that's one of the reasons why, too, I love working with women, because I felt all of that. I know where you are. I can see it. I can understand it. And it's a gift. All of my experiences has let me learn and grow.
Thank you for sharing all that. I know that there are women out there that have gone through sexual assault and issues like that can really appreciate what you've been through and how you've come through it.
When if you look through that too, the sexual abuse as a child, it's in your subconscious. So the patterns that come out through that is just like, whoa, like it's so subconscious that it's really an effort to go through and understand, but love. And it's so common when you have those traumas to have a deep downness of thinking that you're not worthy of love. And so I still have moments where that shows up for me. And it's like, I am worthy of love. I don't need a job. I don't need a car. I don't need an outfit. I just need me to show up, and I am enough. And there's days where it takes practice to remind yourself of that. But when you get into your practice, when you get into who you are, you can create that every day.
All the things we've labeled negative, like the dark night of the soul, and all these challenges are part of the journey that we've put together in order to prepare us for what we're going through and who we're going to serve. That every volunteer on this planet is prepared for their assignment, and that they will have gone through every single experience that all of the people they're here to influence have gone through. So you have to go through the money challenges. You have to go through the relationship challenges. You have to go through whatever it is that you're going to be sharing in order to have that authenticity in the situation. Well, when I experienced that, this is how I dealt with it, and not coming across as you should do this. And, as they complain about professors, they live in an ivory tower and they've never done anything. Well, light workers are the same way. If you are a Peace Corps volunteer and you're sent to some remote village in Africa, you eat what they eat, you live in the same huts, you do everything like the natives do. And as earth-based volunteers or light workers or enlightened souls or whatever you want to call them, we have agreed to experience all the aspects of earth life. And it's not as a punishment. I mean, this is an incredible blessing to come to this planet. It's an incredible gift that only the most advanced souls will experience. But it's being aware that it's part of our journey and just being present for it, not judging it, not resisting it, not complaining about it, not feeling superior because you finished that lesson, but just being surrendered to it. And so for me, it's every day is just sort of an awareness of, wow, this is how this piece fits in with this piece and how this goes in with this.
So I would love to hear from both of you. And Heather, we'll start with you. What has Spirit been teaching you most recently?
When you say Spirit teaching me, that brings up a lot of baggage words, and that implies different things at different places. And so you get to a point in your spiritual journey where you're no longer separate from Spirit. There's a unification with higher self. You become one with all that is. It's a very special, incredible experience. So I don't want people to think that, I sit down, I have in my dream state been in the classroom and I'm taking notes and going, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. But there's no teacher, I'm just taking notes. But it's the awarenesses that I have on a daily basis. And I think probably my biggest things now is that everything is in divine order. That, all the things we've labeled negative, like the dark night of the soul and all these challenges, are part of the journey that we've put together in order to prepare us for what we're going through and who we're going to serve. That every volunteer on this planet is prepared for their assignment, and that they will have gone through every single experience that all of the people they're here to influence have gone through. So you have to go through the money challenges. You have to go through the relationship challenges. You have to go through whatever it is that you're going to be sharing in order to have that authenticity in the situation. But when I experienced that, this is how I dealt with it, and not coming across as a, you should do this. And, as they complain about professors, they live in an ivory tower and they've never done anything. Well, light workers are the same way. If you are a Peace Corps volunteer and you're sent to some remote village in Africa, you eat what they eat, you live in the same huts, you do everything like the natives do. And as earth-based volunteers or light workers or enlightened souls or whatever you want to call them, we have agreed to experience all the aspects of earth life. And it's not as a punishment. I mean, this is an incredible blessing to come to this planet. It's an incredible gift that only the most advanced souls will experience. But it's being aware that it's part of our journey and just being present for it, not judging it, not resisting it, not complaining about it, not feeling superior because you finished that lesson, but just being surrendered to it. And so for me, it's every day is just sort of an awareness of, wow, this is how this piece fits in with this piece and how this goes in with this. And then I get my notes out and go, okay, that's got to be in the next book, because the books are how I put out my major life lessons and what the populations need right now. So I am thrilled that I have the privilege of writing everybody's lessons down.
Right. And Stacie, what about you? What major life lessons are you being presented with these days?
I'd say lots. I think that it's a never-ending process. For me, I feel like especially the last couple months have been like a deeper layer of healing, as if we're looking at an onion and there's just a layer and you got through one layer and then like, oh, there's another layer. And so you got through another layer. And so for me, life journey is almost like an onion. Even the healing journey is like an onion. And so I've been finding that things that are hitting me is like, oh, I thought I let go of that 20 years ago. Oh, that's still in there. So for me, it's like these little hooks of like, oh, there's something still hanging on because it's coming up. And so I feel through loving relationships that so many things have been reflected for me to be able to see or mirror. And I think one of the most important things with that, and when I'm feeling that, is if you think of your aura field and you think of something that's happening, something going on, to really like, oh, this insecurity is really coming out. Like, okay. And so instead of just pushing it away, like, oh, I'm not insecure. It's not about that. It's like holding it like a baby. Like, okay, let's look at that. How does this feel? You know, how does this show up? Where does this show up? And what am I learning from it? But just accepting it, loving it, and appreciating it, that really helps transform the energy, right? To be able to also be more in full loving with ourselves. But I do feel the last couple months especially has been healing, not just from the lifetime, but lineages. So I feel like we've come into this time in this place to be able to work through mass lineage stuff that it sometimes feel in your body, but you don't necessarily think it's your memory. As Mom talked about earlier, you know, we've been punished a lot in our lives, past lives and witch world and all that kind of stuff. And I've had some throat things that I've been working through this year alone, of being able to speak my truth without feeling restricted. And so I think it shows up when you're ready to learn. Boom, it's all there. So you could ask, last week I was sick, sore throat from holding back angry words, you know, like not being able to feel like I can communicate or talk freely. So it's I think it's constant. But I would say more so right now, I feel like it's deep layers that we're processing and going through to be able to really live in our true, authentic, pure self, with the darks, with the lights, with all of it. You know, be at peace with all of it, because I wouldn't be me without, you know, all the other stuff. It's just all of us is who we are. Does that answer your question?
Perfectly. Thank you. You know, you two are both so inspiring, and I have absolutely loved having this time to have conversation with you both. How would folks get in touch with you or be able to follow you to know what all you're working on?
Well, the easiest way is, if they want to get in touch with me, is my heather@heatherharder.com email address. I have a website, heatherharder.com, as well. They can connect with the website. They can email me, which the website has my email address on as well. Facebook, Heather Harder, all of those kinds of traditional things. And then hopefully if there's anybody out there that wants to help me with my website, that's wonderful as well. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me, although it's don't judge me by my website.
I love it. I love it. We found the weak link there.
Well, everybody has challenges. It's the journey that we're on.
Right. Thank you. And Stacie, how would folks be in touch with you?
I'd say the easiest way is Facebook, Stacie Harder. You can email me at harderstacie@gmail.com. And my website, stacieharder.com, might be in the process of being on the works.
Ladies, this has been absolutely delightful.
Thank you,
Thank
Liz,
you.
for having us.
Yes, it's my honor, and it's really fun to be on with my mom. And thank you, Ruth, for doing this.
All right. Thank you, ladies.
So much love and light. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And ooh, we've got Heather on here twice. So let's see if we can't get her on here at least once. Okay. We're working on the promote to panelist. We'll see if it works for us.
Ooh.
Okay. Look at that. Now we just need to get her unmuted. Do you want to try, Heather, unmuting yourself? She's working it. What? I can't hear. I can't hear.
Okay, now. Okay. Does it work?
It works. We've got you on here twice.
I'm trying to turn the other one off.
Ooh, I think you did it.
Maybe. Maybe.
Perfect.
And you know what? This is a story that really will have meaning after all the technological glitches we've had. And I've have these all the time. I mean, technology and I are not on the best of terms. But when I was doing my PhD, I had to pass a technology proficiency. I'd done all my coursework. I had 3 days of exams before I could go ahead and do my dissertation. One of the exams at that time was a computer proficiency, which was about a 3-hour exam of short answers, multiple choice, that kind of thing. I can read a book and pass a test. The other part, I had to go to the computer lab. I was given an envelope that had 5 statistical problems, story problems. I had to figure out what statistical application was needed. Then I had to write the computer code that solved the problem and got the right answer. I had never taken a computer course. I was sweating bullets, and yeah, it was finish, do the test or not go any further. And so I was praying real heavy and said, God, if this degree is important to you, you've got to help me, because I can't do this on my own. And this feeling of total calm came over me about 2 o'clock in the morning. I went to bed, got up the next day, went to the computer lab. I remember vividly them handing me this white envelope. It was about a 9x12, and have no memory whatsoever after that, none, until I got my results back and I passed the test. And that's like, how did I do that? I don't know how to do that. And yet I passed it. And so then when I started doing direct communication, many questions I had about my life, and certainly that was one of them. How did I pass this test? Because I couldn't do that on my own. They said, when I asked for help and surrendered, that an aspect of my soul living on the western coast of Canada came into my body and took the test for me. And it's like, well, that makes more sense than me passing it my own. It also showed me in a very real way, as everybody who has watched me with technology knows, I couldn't do it on my own, that we have so much help if we simply ask and surrender to it. So
That's a great.
Maybe that's why I had to have my computer glitches. So the story would have more meaning.
I love that. That's so fun. So I thoroughly enjoyed interviewing you both. And there was so much, there is an entire interview that I left on the cutting room floor because there was just so much information. And even as I was listening to it again, and I've heard it so many times, I have incredibly different notes here. And I apologize for the repeated section in there. Apparently, Heather, I needed to hear that part from you twice.
I did notice that double meaning.
Right. But Stacie, one of the things that you said, your vulnerability and your sharing was so precious on this. And you just made yourself so available to anybody who has gone through trauma like that. So thank you for that. But one of the things that you said was, I just need me to show up. I am enough. I have goosebumps just saying that out loud. What a position of strength that you're coming from. And I'm so glad that you are putting your time and energy to supporting women.
Aw, thank you. It's a gift, and I feel that's part of why I experience so much, is because I want to help women. And it's taken time. It took me a long time to actually own up, like, hey, I was raped. It actually took me years, probably about 5 years before I can put in my head, like, that's totally rape. And it only was because I put it to my friends telling me the story, or if I had a daughter that told me the story, if my sister told me that story, I'd be like, you were not conscious, you were sleeping, you said no, you never gave birth, like, and I was like, oh yeah. So sometimes I find we don't always see it as it is, but thank you. And I've also learned there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, so I've been sexually assaulted, I've been raped, I've gone through lots of different things, but it does give you the ability to have all that within us. Like, we can do this, and even like the I am enough. And going back, at the time I felt broken, at the time I felt shattered, but I never was. That's the gift, is like, we're always whole all the time. We might not always feel that way, and that's okay. And I think a big thing too is you and I have worked through that as well, of just living with being okay with that feeling, like loving it instead of trying to push it away. Just surrender to it, love it, see it, give it space, and it usually can just go on its merry way. But the more we try to push, oh no, the more it's like it's bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's just loving everything, which has its moments of challenges, but ultimately I think that's the biggest challenge of all and our biggest gift of all. But thank you.
So, Heather, you had said, we're not being tested, we're being prepared. And as a mother, I can hear you saying that to Stacie. What was that like, Stacie, as you have gone through some really difficult times, to be hearing that from your mother? Was that hard for you?
Wait, say, what was it that she said?
Your mom said, we're not being tested, we're being prepared. And when she said, yes, Stacie went through difficult times, but it was so she could learn and be able to teach other people. Was that hard for you?
No, I think maybe in the moments, there's moments of challenges because you don't always see it that clear. But I always know for me, everything my mom says, I know is truth. It's like, she's right. Like, I know she's right. So sometimes it is those, like, as she said, like, okay, show me how. I think that's a big thing, is just saying, okay, show me how am I going to do this? Show me how I'm going to get through, like, help me. I believe we have our angels. I believe we all have the support with us 24/7, but they can't interrupt or interfere until we ask permission. And so my mom, I did good when I picked her. She does sometimes push me a bit, which I appreciate. It's not by accident, because I don't want to be, it's just who I am too, you know, like, it's good to not just push it under the table and not deal with it. The easier it becomes, the quicker and the faster we deal with things. I find now it's like, I see that much, it's a huge gift she's given me. So thank you, Mom. Yeah.
Heather, you had said even the thought of saying no to Spirit was bringing tears to your eyes.
Yeah.
But really, when Spirit said, I want you to run for president, was there no kickback on your part there?
Oh, again, we're always human. So there's always that resistance to it. And I'm a person who hates competition. I didn't even like to watch my daughters compete in sports and various events. So I hate competition. And here I'm entering the largest competition in the country. But in the beginning, as I said, I tested the Spirit until I could know and have total confidence in this internal guidance system that I had. So when it hit, it was coming from inside, and I knew it was truth. And it's like, oh my gosh. I told my mother, I said, I'm going to run for president. She goes, I hope I'm dead first. So she was. And there was certainly a lot of people who couldn't see me big enough to run for president because they couldn't see themselves big enough to know someone who's running for president. So it was really a reflection on many, many levels for many, many things, but it literally changed me. Every night I went to bed, I was prepared for by having these interviews through the night through every yucky part of my life so I could handle them. If you could imagine some of the attacks that Trump's had. Well, we all have those moments in our lives, and having that. So I was prepared at levels beyond comprehension. And in fact, I paid for $200 an hour media training. And the guy said, I can't teach you anything. I can't teach, you're natural. And it's like, I'm not a natural. I've been well prepared for people bigger than you. But it was the example of what's gone on. And then the kinds of connections that was made and the kinds of things that happened. And it was a life-changing event for me. It also told me how dysfunctional our country is. And we, the people, have to get back involved. And we're doing that now, which I'm happy for. We're doing it in a very judgmental way, which I hope we grow beyond and just become much more proactive. But it was life-changing.
I can only fathom that it was. And that was 10 years of your life.
10 years of life, yes. 3 years in library research and preparing. I mean, I know more about the presidents than the presidents probably know, and then the political system, and then how to run for office. I spent 1 year going to campaign training schools across the country. I listened to these people, train people, and how to get people in a state of fear, because when you get someone in fear, you can control them. All the things that have been going on to us in a political arena, the ickies are trained the new candidates are trained in these things. So yeah, I had all that. And then it was 6 years on the road, nonstop, living in an RV, basically coming home to change clothes and say hello to everybody and getting back on the road.
And were you married to your husband at that time?
Yes, but divorced shortly after. I will say, yeah, it was certainly hard on everybody. Stacie probably the least, only because she took a semester of college and did an internship with me. So she was in the RV with me, experiencing it all firsthand. So I think that gave her a bird's eye view of the process and had a much greater appreciation for it. In fact, she was even got involved with politics herself and was named the year 2000 Young Democratic Woman of the Country, and did an internship in Washington, D.C. after that as well. So she was quite helpful to the process.
And where do you go from there? You decided at some point, okay, that's it. We're done with this part of the journey. Where do you go from running for president?
Well, I cocooned for a while. I literally went back and had to regroup myself because there had been so many different kinds of experiences. And then what I chose to do was become a foster parent for teenagers. That'll ground you. So I spent 4 years doing foster parenting up close and personal with kids who needed me. And so with that, it made a huge difference. And then after that, I wrote a book. Oh, I shouldn't say it. During that time, I wrote a book on my experiences, which is always my therapy, is to write about it. And so I did that.
So one of the sections that I did have to cut out of this was Heather walked us through like 5 books that you had written. And I know, Stacie, you've got some of them right there for a little show and tell. If you don't, one of these books, which is called Many Were Called, Few Were Chosen, the story of the Earth-Based Volunteers, is actually one of the appreciation gifts for folks who purchase the All Access Pass. And it's the lovely
This is the book. Here we go. Many were called, few were chosen, by Dr. Heather Ann Harder.
And that was my awakening book. That was a story. I don't know if you can see me. My screen is doing all kinds of crazy
There,
things.
it's good.
But that was a story I remembered. My prayers were always to know truth, and I didn't believe that this life was this little thing that we step into and step out of. There was something more to it, and that was that book. And it's still my favorite book. I still cry when I read it because it's in our cellular knowing, and I do recommend that to everyone who's awakening and wants to understand what we're going through and what's happening to us. And so that's my gift to anyone who would choose to take the gift. You pay for postage.
That's great.
So.
That's so generous of you. And Stacie, can we see the Egypt book? Because I want you all to talk about the Egypt trips here.
Oh,
Well, I'd be
Egypt
happy
is so
to.
special. Well, let me talk for a minute, Mom, so my screen comes up so then we can show the book. So she's got many books. This is just a handful of them. This one is Egypt. It's a spiritual travel guide to the magical, mystical, and powerful land. And I am her assistant on the trips, which has been really incredible. My first time in Egypt, I was 15. And I think it really did shape a lot of who I am today. And if anybody has ever heard of ayahuasca, it's this mother journey plant. And to me, Egypt is that. She's this energy amazingness that she will show you what you need to be shown, and you must surrender to her, and she will guide you. But it's, as my mom says, 10 days of therapy is 10 years, or 10 years of therapy and 10 days of therapy in Egypt, because it's intense, beyond amazing. And I'll let my mom go into the rest.
Well, first of all, I have a small trip, a 9-day trip going in October. So if anybody has that calling to see Egypt, we have a couple more spaces for our October trip. And then Stacie and I will be doing the February 2020 trip together. And that's going to be a very powerful 2-week trip. So in each trip is different. We do different things. But to me, Egypt is a living consciousness. It really is a sentient being. You step into that energy And if you're alive, if you're awake, if you're conscious, you can feel it. And you do this sort of energetic dance with it. I have yet to take someone to Egypt that hasn't come back transformed. If they resist and fight the energy, it can be not so much fun. But if you just go with and allow yourself to move through these experiences, it is life changing. I've got now a cadre of people who are on their third trip going to Egypt because it's that meaningful. And it's something that I think that everybody should go to Egypt at least once. The book is designed for the first time spiritual traveler, because if you're not prepared for that journey, it can be overwhelming. And so allowing yourself to get physically and emotionally and psychologically prepared for Egypt is important for me. So that's what that book is.
And on top of that, one of the things we do we still do the small groups, but the February one is we rent out the pyramid. So we have a 2-hour private meditation in the Great Pyramid of Giza. So it is absolutely incredible. So you have my mom there holding the spiritual world, giving the spiritual meanings and the spiritual tour. And then we have the Egyptologist there giving the historical point of view from Egypt's historical.
I'm sort of the spiritual coach during the trip, helping everybody move through the lessons and recognize their lessons and taking instructions from spirit and what everyone needs. But it is a very sacred journey. We rent, so far, we've been able to rent the pyramids each time we've been, but that's a government permission, and on any trip it can be withheld. So we do it if we can. But there's nothing like it. I'm nearing my 30th trip, and Stacie's probably about 4 or 5 trips now at least. But it is special.
Holy
And each time is special.
It's
And I'll be
magical.
there in 4 weeks. Okay, next book, Stacie. What's the next book?
We have Interdimensional Communication. You have the Dimensions, the Waking, the Divine Consciousness. That's from moving from the 3rd to 5th dimension.
Okay, in between there's a book called Perfect Power and Consciousness, and that's
Perfect
the
Power
book
and
that
Consciousness.
talks about the melding of body, mind, and spirit. Yeah, that talks about how we're unifying body, mind, and spirit. You can't get there from here unless you are bringing along your body and your mind in the process. And so this is my journey of what took place to get there. The third book is called Exploring Life's Last Frontier, the World of Death, Dying, and Letting Go, because we in this country, in this world, we fear death, we push it away, we fight it, and death is just a very natural part of life. And so that book takes 3 people who were alive and then follows them through their death experience. And then comes Interdimensional Communication. When I was running for office, surprise, there was a whole lot of ridicule about talking to dead people. So for the second cycle in 2000, I wrote the book so that if someone got sidetracked on, she talks to dead people, I just said, read the book. Everybody can talk to dead people. We're all communicating with the other side. We just aren't aware of the communication process. So it talks about the safety rules. I mean, it can be very hazardous to your well-being to communicate if you're not sure of what you're doing. So the book talks about that. And then the last book is the Dimensions and the Awakening Divine Consciousness, which is really understanding what's happening to us right now, because so many people are losing their memory and going, oh my gosh, I'm getting so senile. Well, you're not. It's the way the mind is changing, the way we're evolving as a consciousness, as a human being. We're moving beyond our physical experience, and understanding what kind of changes that brings to us, and our awareness is very important, so we don't fight it. We tend to take a pill. If we get a symptom, we take a pill to make it stop, but the symptoms can be often very important to our progression.
You guys are
That's
like,
all.
it's like going to school when I listen to you guys.
Well, if you're open to it, it really every day is like, oh my gosh, look at the lessons that are being given to me. And if you can stay open to the lessons, it's a very easy process. It's when we fight them, it's the difference between being forced to take piano lessons and hating every minute of it, or taking horseback riding lessons and feeling empowered and thrilled with the experience. It's how we choose to frame the experience. But it's a powerful experience, and nobody comes to earth for punishment. I hate when I hear people feel like, say that they have to come here because they've got karmic debt. Well, you've karmic debt, but you're choosing to burn it off. It's always a choice. Earth is such a privilege to be at, and understanding and privilege is very important.
Aho.
I'll pause so
Aho.
you can say something now, Ruth.
Well, so I do want to ask, I mean, there's an entire week worth of conversations to be had here. So I'm trying to kind of streamline my thoughts. If somebody is feeling called to go on one of these Egypt trips, how do they reach out and say, hey, take me?
Well, first of all, the email is the best way, or, through Facebook, either way, or call me on my phone. Today, someone called me who watched your show, by the way, and said, you answer your phone. And I said, what did you expect me to do? I didn't expect you to be answering your phone. So I answer my own phone, and I answer my own emails. So they can email me at heather@heatherharder.com, or
Yes.
they can call me at 219-662-7248.
And every book has her cell phone number in it. So I've been there when people
told
from
that was
around the
very important
world
by
call
Spirit.
her at different hours. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. It's very important because we're all helping each other awaken.
Yeah, this is awesome, you guys. I love it. So Terry Angel, please tell us, are there some folks out there in Facebook land?
Hello, yes, we have folks that are just enthralled with this whole conversation. Thank you all for staying on and for the beautiful love that you've been showing. I just want to read some of the comments. We don't really have any questions, but just some beautiful love that's being shared. Cheryl Glick is on, and she says, it is lovely to see the spiritual connection you share and how it improves your lives and those who see how you trust the world and spirit to help you share the truth of being. Thank you for that. Deb Goldberg says, how beautiful to have a mother-daughter awakened journey, to know that you are raising a soul. Sharon Rhea is on, and she says, Stacie and Heather, thanks for sharing your mother-daughter connection and truth. Yours is a great example of spiritual knowledge lived through the trials of being human. We need these examples.
Aw,
That's
awesome.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's why the light workers came, to be an example,
Yes.
to be an influencer.
Yes, absolutely. So Heather, I hope that you and Stacie, I know Stacie's been on the live and she's responded to some, but I hope you both get a chance to read some of these beautiful comments. I picked a few. There's many more that are just thanking you for sharing, for being vulnerable, and just your wisdom. Oh my gosh, that's what I got. Ruth, I'm like you. I'm just blown away. I'm like, I could just sit here and listen to the two of you, for days, I think.
And I could gladly talk for days.
I know, me too. I'm like, this is fun.
Right?
I love this. So this feeds my soul.
Yeah.
So I know
Yeah.
it's a gift to me. So thank you.
It-
I
it-
love being connected.
reinforcing our purpose. And if people have questions, please feel free to send them, and to the best of my ability, I will respond to them.
Yeah.
That's great. Terry, anything else from the peanut gallery over there?
Well, Maria says, sadly, society loves to label us, and peer pressure often makes us doubt ourselves. And as a result, we forget that we are enough. And I love that, because I think, Stacie, when you made that comment, it was like, there was like this beautiful energy that came out, and everybody felt it. Everybody that was in the live with us, and I could just feel it. And I love that. It took me many, many, many years to realize I am enough.
Yes.
And
And
I
it's
am
still-
worthy.
Yes.
And this is where an awakened mother is not so much fun. But I would tell her that the world is judging her because she's judging herself. As soon as she stops doing that, as soon as she accepts herself, then what other people say or do is their business, and it won't make a bit of difference. If other people influence you at any level, including emotionally, then you need to back up and say, what is it within me that I'm doing? This is because it's an internal issue, not an external one.
Yes.
And sometimes hearing
absolutely.
that, we obviously know that's truth, but in the time and being in the middle of it, sometimes that's really hard to see because you
That's where
blinders on.
The compassion that we have defined as compassion and spiritual truth can sometimes go head to head. But what we call compassion is often enabling. And as light workers, we have to speak the truth, even when it's not something that necessarily people want to receive.
I would love to take this entire group to Egypt so we could just.
Yay!
Wouldn't that be cool?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
But talk about Egypt takes and amplifies whatever you're going through. So if you're not willing to look at it in the little picture, be prepared for a big picture experience in Egypt. I mean, if I went through the stories, I've had people had to address their anger issues, but first they had to be really pissed off for a long time before they would finally admit that there was anger issues and address those. When they finally did, the person went home and lost 75 pounds within a couple of months. Because the body no longer had to hold the emotional stuff. I've had people quit smoking in Egypt, quit drinking in Egypt. I've had all kinds of healings of different things take place, and only I don't like the term healing actually, but the changes take place for the betterment of the individual, and they call them healings. But you change. So let's do it, Ruth.
I love it. I love it. All right. I'm going to have to let everybody go. We've been on over an hour already, but this could just go on for hours and hours. So
I'm like, I love it. Thank you so much. It's fun.
this is great. This is great. So Stacie, love you dearly. Heather, love you. Thank you. Thank you. And Terry Angel, thank you so much for supporting and being there for the guys on Facebook. And
Thank you.
oh, absolutely.
And Ruth, I would like to also commend you for what a lovely job you've done with the summit. I've been very, very impressed with it. Even though I struggle with the technology aspect of it, I still admire the great effort that you've put in all the different ways you've made it work.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. And I definitely want to say that as well, because it's very impressive. I know you have a busy life, but the fact that you are so willing, able, and I know the time and energy that's gone into this in so many ways. So thank you so much, because we're just one day of many. So thank you for everything you do. And Terry, thanks for being part of our interview as well. And to everybody who's watching, loads of love to you. Your sisters are here with you.
That's so sweet. And tomorrow, folks, is day 11. We've got Pamela Olivia Brown, and her Facebook Live is at 1:00 p.m. Mountain Time. And Heather, Pamela is so connected to the Egypt thing, and I have told her to connect with you. So that would be so cool if you end up traveling.
Feel free to pass my name and email and phone number to anyone who seems appropriate. So
we'll do that. All right. Love you all. Have a good night.
Loads of love and light.
Good night.
Woo! Good night, everybody. Thank you.